Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. 13 News begins with breaking news on the west side where 2 IMPD officers were shot this afternoon.
First calls came in around 2:30 this afternoon near North Fleming and Vermont Streets. That's on the near west side. It's right near Thatcher Park and the golf course there.
And you can see Eagle Creek there nearby as well. Our Alex Almanza live at the media staging area near the scene. We just heard from police moments ago. Alex, what have you learned?
Well, IMPD says that around 2:30 this afternoon, IMPD officers were serving a narcotics search warrant in the 300 block of Fleming Street that's on the west side of Indianapolis. When officers arrived to serve that warrant, 2 officers were shot and they were taken to a nearby hospital in stable condition. Now, IMPD says that when more officers came, shots kept ringing out between officers and the suspect, and around 3:15, that's when negotiators with IMPD then worked with the suspect to retreat, and then he was taken into custody. Now, IMPD is not releasing too much information other than that, but they do say that there is no active threat to the community anymore. They're going to provide a further update at the hospital, Eskenazi, within the next few hours, and that's where we can probably find a little bit more information on what exactly led up to this. But again, no public threat to the community on the west side at that 300 block of Fleming Street. 2 officers are in stable condition after being shot, and the suspect was also shot, and he is at a nearby hospital as well.
All right, Alex, and it sounds like from what police have said, this whole thing went on for more than 40 minutes.
Yeah, the shots fired after they arrived at the scene, first to serve a warrant for a narcotics-related issue. And so now those shots were fired. 45 minutes of negotiating with IMPD, and then the suspect relinquished himself. Looked like that suspect had injuries as well, went to the hospitals, and at this hour, we know that the 2 officers who were shot are receiving care at Eskenazi.
And Brandon Schaff is there. He joins us live. Brandon, tell us what you've been able to see so far and what you have learned.
Good afternoon, Justin and Marie. We are still waiting for the update from IMPD here, which, as Alex mentioned, we will get that update within the next few hours. But I can tell you that this afternoon there was a heavy police presence here at the hospital, police cars going in and out of this area here at Eskenazi Hospital. And as Alex mentioned as well, those 2 officers who were shot, they were transported to the hospital and are stable according to police. The shooting, as we know, happening over on the west side, and these officers being transported after everything transpired this afternoon. As we mentioned, we did see some police cars around here, and we will certainly continue to give you updates once the press briefing happens here at Eskenazi, hopefully soon, and we'll have more information to share with you then. And we'll send it back to you for now.
All right, Brandon reporting live for us at the hospital. We'll check back as more news breaks, but we do have other big headlines we want to get to today.
That's right, and that is the extensive flooding throughout central Indiana that has just swallowed neighborhoods and communities across the area.
And the communities that are being impacted are changing by the hour. About half an hour ago, we learned that Governor Mike Braun requested a presidential emergency declaration, and he did this through FEMA to bring additional federal resources here to the state to respond to the severe weather concerns.
And certainly not a surprise. We knew this would be coming. He declared a statewide declaration a couple of days ago that laid the groundwork for this federal request. This request is going to specifically help with emergency response costs and really expedite the process to get the power back on. Tens of thousands of people without power, not only here in central Indiana, but up in northwest Indiana as well. Let's check with meteorologist Rob Ellis. He's here now to find out if more rain is in the forecast.
Well, there's some good news and there's a little bit of bad news. The good news is we've got a break from the heaviest rain, and time is valuable at this point, because any time that passes without more rain is time that rain can get into the rivers and get downstream. But yes, there is more rain on the way. So let me show you where we're tracking some of the showers right now. Most of this is going to be pushing east, but there's a little bit of light rain out there, and still some flash flood warnings are going to expire around 6 or 6:30, left over from the rain that we had earlier in the day today. This is a little bit of light rain that's pushing through, but outside of that, we turn our attention to this. All of the flood watches and warnings that are in place. It's such a patchwork. I'm not going to be able to go through them all. Essentially, if you're watching me right now in central Indiana, you are under some type of advisory when it comes to flooding. Here's what we're expecting on future track. Chance for some showers tonight, but really it's not going to be enough that's going to add to additional flooding. I think we get a break. Unfortunately, that break doesn't last very long because overnight we could see additional showers arrive sometime around sunrise or so. We could see those showers bring some heavier downpours, but not on such a widespread area. In fact, it looks like through the day tomorrow, most of that threat is going to be a little farther to the north. There is a severe threat, maybe a few severe thunderstorm warnings possible tomorrow. On Saturday, most of that's up near the Muncie and points to the north area. These are not areas that necessarily need more rain, but it does appear that it's not going to be as widespread in some of those areas where the rivers are becoming a problem. And yes, the rivers are our biggest concern right now. It's now crested in Anderson. It's about to crest within the next hour or so in Noblesville. We are currently sitting at 22 feet and some change. 23.5 is where we're headed. So Noblesville, you've got about another foot of rain, or excuse me, another foot of river rise. I'm going to talk about Indy's river rise. I'll have that for you coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Rob, thank you so much. Our live team coverage of this historic flooding continues now over in Hamilton County.
Our Samantha Johnson has been up there all day long in Noblesville in the Riverwood neighborhood where voluntary evacuations are in place right now. Sam?
That's right, Dustin and Anne Marie. In fact, this part of the neighborhood is now very quiet because all of the homes you can see around me are underwater and evacuated, which is good news. People taking the extra step to get out now while they can. But if I'm being totally honest, we just watched a car, believe it or not, drive all the way through this floodwater right in front of our camera. They made it, but it was difficult and it is dangerous. This is quick moving water. In fact, we have seen it rise while we've been here. And if you take a look this way, through some of the homes, through some of the trees, you can see that is the rushing White River that has now taken over this neighborhood. Riverwood sits on the west banks of the White River, sort of between Noblesville and Strawtown, if you're familiar with this area. Neighbors just helping each other get out while they can. I want to show you some of this destruction from the sky. The White River, like Rob mentioned, not even at its highest point yet here in Noblesville. So we know all the water you can see, all the destruction here. There is more to come as this continues to rise. We know it's expected to crest at around 23.5 feet, which would be just 4 inches shy of all-time highs here in Hamilton County. In this neighborhood here, people packing up and leaving. We just saw another family leave with trash bags full of their items. We also talked to first responders who were here to help get people to safety, and they say these neighbors did not waste any time jumping in to help.
They all kind of have a plan in place because when you live by the river, they kind of know. But this is kind of moving faster than most people are used to. So I would recommend if you can get out while you can.
So as for what's happening now, crews are here tracking the latest floodwaters with drones. Township trustees are here spending the day sitting down with residents in this neighborhood to talk about whatever comes next. Maybe that's the next meal. Maybe that's where they're going to sleep tonight. Folks in this community looking out for each other and making sure they are cared for. We also talked to a woman who owns the one little shop here in this neighborhood. You'll hear from her and what she is saying about all of this still ahead this evening. Guys, Hamilton County under a state of emergency tonight. There are several main thoroughfares flooded and closed, so please stay off the roads, and certainly if this is your neighborhood, do not drive through it, is the message from first responders. We'll have more for you in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Yes, hopefully people will take heed. Samantha Johnson reporting live for us tonight. Thank you.
And we're going to have Sam stay put. As you just heard, we'll hear again from her coming up at 5 o'clock as the water there continues to rise. Want to head northeast, though, now. Let's take you to Yorktown in Delaware County. Today, the National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning there until 6 o'clock tonight. This is drone video, you see. We shot this earlier today. Clearly widespread flooding. Look at that car, nearly submerged completely. As we've seen from our live team coverage of this historic flooding event, Delaware County really does seem to be one of the hardest hit areas. Our Rich Nye is in Yorktown today. We're going to check in with him coming up live at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and Yorktown sits right between Anderson and Muncie, and so it makes sense that they would have some of the similar flooding concerns there as well. Let's go to Anderson right now, Madison County. That's where our Emily Longnecker spent the day. And how are the conditions that you're finding there, Emily?
Well, Ann and Dustin, you know, Madison County is still also under a flash flood warning until 6:30 p.m. That's according to the Madison County Emergency Management Agency's Facebook page. That's how they've been getting information out all day. But as you said, I'm live here in Anderson. I'm along 8th Street, and the White River runs parallel to 8th Street. And you can see this whole area flooded out. Just beyond me is the Eisenhower Bridge, which leads into downtown Anderson. But take a look, you can't get to it. It is all flooded out. In fact, we saw a man in a kayak here just a little while ago. People have been coming here, taking pictures. They say they've never seen anything like this. The streets flooded, neighborhoods closed. People have been under mandatory evacuation orders since yesterday. The Indiana National Guard has been here in Anderson since last night. The Indiana Department of Homeland Security brought them here, and they have been working with the Anderson Fire Department. They brought in something called high water vehicles, 3 of them, to help with rescues. The Guard says they have been on 12 missions, 12 rescues already today. Take a listen.
So there's been a lot of people who have been trying to drive through high water. That's mainly who we're going to help. The gentleman in his truck thought he could make it, he could not, and his truck kind of slid off the road.
And again, the Guard here in Anderson at the request of the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. The governor also requesting today a presidential emergency declaration through FEMA. That's to help bring federal resources here to all the areas impacted. The evacuation order, according to the city of Anderson's Facebook page, that is still in place. And there have been several homes, several neighborhoods evacuated because of that flooding. Those evacuation orders stay in place until they are lifted. If you can take a look right here, when we first got here early this morning, the water was way beyond this building. It was just at the corner of this gray building here. It has slowly been creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And tonight at 5, we're going to hear from one of the business owners in this building about what he is trying to do to mitigate the damage. But people still under that evacuation order for several areas here in Anderson at this point. And Dustin?
All right, Emily Longnecker reporting live for us. Thank you so much.
And now let's go to Cambridge City. If you've been watching our coverage the past few days, you know that Cambridge City was hit hard as well. Catastrophic flooding forced people out of their homes and their businesses. Businesses shut down. We even saw sinkholes there in that community, you name it. And just yesterday, the city of Cambridge City actually enacted a curfew. So people in Cambridge City are supposed to be off the streets from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next 7 days through next Thursday. We sent our Jenna Webster there today to check out the recovery efforts underway. We're going to check in with her in about 30 minutes.
Now, up until this point, when we've been talking about this flooding, it's all been outside of the Indianapolis metro area. Listen up, that is about to change. As the White River now travels south, it hits the Wabash and then ultimately reaches the Ohio River. It will travel right through Marion County. And areas that we know well are prone to flooding here, we're talking about Ravenswood, Rocky Ripple, Broad Ripple. These areas will feel the impact very soon. Listen up. There is a river gauge. It's near 82nd and Keystone, right up there near Keystone and the Crossing. That's what Marab Ellis is watching very closely right now, and he joins us with the major flooding impact that's expected here as soon as tonight. Rob.
Yeah, all of that flooding that we've been seeing, where it's crested in Anderson at a record, it's crested in Noblesville, or it's about to crest, I should say, in Noblesville. Eventually, that will all travel down to that gauge. So here's where we are. We're currently sitting at 14.71 at that gauge at 82nd Street. We're headed for 19.4. I want to show you the impacts. Now, when we get to 15.3, not too far from that, River Road just north of 86th Street is going to flood. You're going to have high water affecting Ravenswood and River Edge Drive. Many basements in Ravenswood are going to flood. But look, we're going to go higher still, 16 feet. When we get there, that'll happen sometime tonight and tomorrow. Many homes are going to start to experience some basement flooding. River Edge Road floods. You're going to see that flooding on the White River east of on East 116th Street. Let's go to 18 feet because we are going to get there. Major damage is going to start to occur at the Ravenswood area and considerable flooding at the Indianapolis Arts Center. Think about that. Numerous local streets on the north side of Indianapolis are going to be flooded. But look, it's going to go even higher still. 18.5, there's an agricultural levee in Connor Prairie Farm. It's going to be located in southern Hamilton County. That could fail. We'll watch for that. Floodwaters are going to reach low steel of the Monon Trail Bridge over the White River at 18.75 feet. Now we're going to crest at 19 feet, 19.4 feet. But when we get to 19 feet, and this is what we really want to make sure you understand, is that a major flood will be in progress at that point. That will happen sometime tonight and into tomorrow. We could see, this is according to the National Weather Service, when we get to that 19-foot mark, 200 to 400 homes that may flood at this point. Water is going to overtop the agricultural levee at Connor Prairie. We should see the Wharfley levee raised and fortified, the one that was fortified there in June of 2008. That's in the McDonald's from Broad Ripple over to Kessler Boulevard. It may get overtopped by that point. Luxury homes that are located on Beach Avenue, they may have as much as 3 feet of water in their basement. So we're trying to give you some specifics here of what could happen when we get to those levels. And we could see extensive flooding on both sides of Keystone Avenue south of East 80th Street. So these are the areas we want you to be aware of. We may crest at 19.4. I'm saying may because there's still some variability in just how much water is in the White River. If we get to 20 feet, we're not expected to get there, but if we get to 20 feet, much of Ravenswood, Mystic Bay, and areas on both sides of Keystone Avenue, south of East 80th Street, could be flooded by 3 feet of water. We're not expected to get there. We're expected to get here, but it's going to be pretty close. We'll have to watch this carefully, and if I get any new data, I'll let you know. This crest is expected to happen sometime tomorrow. I'll have more details coming up.
All right, Rob. So we certainly do want people that live in these areas to take note, take heed, take precaution. If you need sandbagging, if you need to remove items, if you want to evacuate your house, you know if you're in an area that is prone to the flooding. If it's flooded there before, it's very likely that it's going to flood here by tonight or by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
And you know, flash flooding is so frightening because it can happen so quickly. This, though, you know it's coming, so you have time to make a plan and do those things.
Right. We also know the city is hosting a press conference later tonight about what the city plans are, and that's at 5:30. And so we're going to learn more about what the city is doing to notify, to evacuate, to get the word out. We want to make sure you know that we're on top of it. We want you to be on top of it too. We want everyone to be safe. Our coverage continues right after this break.